Welcome to ForexTV.com. It's Wednesday, April 16th. I'm Remy Hoogie with your New York Forex Market Buzz. The U.S. dollar is under pressure in today's session, hitting an all-time low against the euro, earlier touching 1.5977. In afternoon trade as of 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, euro dollar is at 1.5968. Sterling dollar is trading around 1.9730, while dollar yen is at 101.58. U.S. equities are rallying today with the major indexes up over 1.5%. Better than expected quarterly results from JP Morgan Chase, Intel, and Coca-Cola have been fueling today's gains. And we had a slew of U.S. data out today, with March consumer prices up 0.3% after the unchanged reading in February. Core inflation ex food and energy posted a 0.2% gain. Meanwhile, home construction tumbled in March to the lowest level in 17 years. Housing starts fell 11.9% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 947,000 in March. Meanwhile, U.S. industrial production climbed 0.3% in March, following the upwardly revised minus 0.7 reading in February. And capacity utilization inched up to 80.5% in March from the downwardly revised 80.3 in February. This afternoon, I'm joined by Rhonda Staskow from Thomson Financial. Good afternoon, Rhonda.
Good afternoon, Remy.
Thanks for joining us today. Well, in today's session, euro dollar has breached another record high against the dollar and the pound, and euro sterling hit a high earlier around 80.91. Now, given that Eurozone inflation has soared to record highs, there are no expectations that the ECB will be focused on cutting rates anytime soon. But Rhonda, starting with euro dollar, we're eyeing the technical as well as psychological level of 160. So fundamentally and technical, what's your near-term forecast for euro dollar?
Well, certainly, as you said, 160 is the target, and there's chances it could go as high as 162 or even higher. The key reason for that is, one, a lot of options when you get to 160, 161, or 162, barrier options that will cause short covering. The other thing is, I don't think the market was expecting such strong recent gains, particularly with the G7 not too long ago, and some sort of expectations that we might have gotten a stronger statement for the G7 about the dollar weakness, which we didn't. And there's no signs that any of the officials will be able to do anything about that dollar weakness. And I think the market has been trying to short the euro ahead of 160, as evidenced by price action since March. So I think if we get above 160, we're going to see a very strong surge on what could only be termed a capitulation trade, and on the view, as you mentioned earlier, that rates will not be cut anytime soon. Some banks were looking for rate cuts as early as Q3. Now the market's not talking until next year, and some are even talking about the possibility of a rate hike because of inflation pressures.
Well, Rhonda, now that we've covered euro dollar, let's take a look at the UK pound. The euro sterling cross continues to climb and hit new records, and the pair may be overextended. But what will weigh on sterling against both the euro as well as the dollar going forward?
Well, with sterling, that ends up being a difficult case against the dollar. And while you have a weaker dollar overall, that's supporting sterling on dip. So it's finding support even well ahead of the lows earlier this year that were under 190, around 194, just under 194. But on the same time, as you mentioned, is that you still have this underperformance of sterling against the euro, which means that that's going to continue to cap. So even though you've got a weaker dollar which could support sterling, what's going on in the crosses is working against it. So you're probably going to end up with some sort of range trading that you will see to continue to attract selling on sterling, with risk to the downside back towards 194 and below, but probably a range between 195 and 2 coming up because of those two-way flows on the sterling.
Well, now that we've covered the majors, let's take a look at the dollar block currencies of the Aussie dollar as well as the CAD. In today's session, NYMEX crude oil futures continue to soar, hitting an all-time high near the 115